On to the show, on to the podcast, on to the H Man.
The H-Man. Now, I
The
saw this
You did see this when you were. I
a
did
long
too.
time ago when I was a kid.
I did too.
And I remember the liquid H-Man guy, coming and falling on people and stuff, which I thought
Yeah.
was cool. And I wondered how they did it. But it's also kind of talky.
Oh,
So
it's a crime movie. It really
yeah,
is.
yeah, it's with some science fiction elements to it.
And of
So
course
when
the
I watched
nuclear,
this,
of course, your nuclear element to it. Of course.
yes.
Yeah.
So when I watched this, I didn't really pay too much attention to it because back then, I mean, 8, 9 years old, I watched for the scary monsters.
Sure,
So
I
if they
still
didn't have
do.
scary monsters, I didn't really pay attention. So I'm playing with my Legos and my Army Men and stuff because these usually played Friday night or Saturday afternoon or
I
evening.
think I remember seeing it on the CBS late night movie.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, because every once in a while on a Friday you'd get a good science fiction style movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
CBS used to do that back in the 70s. They play Hammer movies and
yeah,
80s too. They play Hammer movies and
every once in a while, and it was great to be like, oh, because sometimes they played melodramas and other boring
sure.
stuff.
Sometimes they would play. I didn't watch it, but I know some friends of mine said they watched the Night Stalker TV show the first time. I don't know if the first time they saw it, but they saw it on repeats on the CBS late night movie. So they would
Yeah,
show
they would
TV
do that.
stuff.
And a lot of times they would play like a TV show, sometimes like The Night Stalker, sometimes The Sixth Sense,
Oh yeah.
Harry Collins, or I think Night Gallery even. They would break it down to like a half
No,
hour
you know
now.
what you know what the weird thing? Yes, that's it. That was so weird, and they were in
Yeah,
syndication, and I think Comet TV was showing them for a while, but I think they stopped.
yeah.
I guess because Night Gallery only ran like 3 seasons, maybe. Well,
Okay.
somebody decided to take the Sixth Sense show, cut it up,
Yeah,
turn it into half-hour shows, and make it a Night Gallery episode. And they got Rod Serling to do a narration with a painting in the background. It was so weird the way they did that.
yeah, because the Sixth Sense, they weren't very interesting.
Oh, it wasn't? Oh, okay.
Well, I didn't find it interesting. I mean, Gary Collins, is that a Gary? Yeah,
It was
he
Gary Collins, yeah.
yeah he had a ESP and he could see things. He could see murders and ghosts and stuff, but it didn't have the same. It didn't have the punch
Hmm.
that the Night Gallery shows had.
Yeah, Night Gallery was a different. But my friend was recording a few years ago, and he was recording because it was interesting in that they would show a Sixth Sense show, cut it in half, but they would pad it with scenes from movies. And he
Right.
thought, "What are they doing here? This is weird." It's like it's not. It's whenever they do a book on Night Gallery, it's usually not talked about, and
Yeah.
it was in syndication, but I don't know if it is anymore. I haven't seen Night Gallery in years. I don't think Comet's showing it. And I don't think there's a Night Gallery channel on Roku, from what I can tell. So I don't know. I'd like to.
Yeah.
I have a box set with all 3 seasons, but
Oh, that's
obviously not the
yeah. I know
Six Sense.
when they did that with a lot of hour-long shows. So they would cut down Night Gallery to half an hour.
Hmm.
They did that with Rowan and Martin's Laughing.
Yeah,
Cut that down to half an hour,
I
and
didn't know
even
they did it. I didn't know they did it to Laughing.
yeah, and so everything just doesn't flow. Some of the shows, because they're a little longer than half an hour, they would cut out parts, and so some of the shows were incomprehensible.
So Night Gallery was an hour show. Okay, it wasn't a
Yeah,
half hour show. I don't remember.
now it was an hour show that
NBC.
trimmed to half an hour for syndication.
And it really wasn't Serling's show. It was a guy called Jack Laird who
Right.
was the big shot on the show. Serling was just, they just hired him to do his Twilight Zone thing.
He also used to narrate Jacques Cousteau specials.
He
So like,
also narrated a movie called, I think it's called, can't remember what it now, but it was a low budget anthology movie made in Texas, Tales of the Unexpected or something.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
remember.
I remember that too. Yeah, the one
I
was
never saw it. I never. Maybe
yeah,
we'll watch it. I never saw it. I know it's three short stories, and they got Serling to
to narrate it. Yeah,
narrate, do
I know
intros.
some these friends. Their one of their friends died, and the mother blamed
I
his other
believe that's one of the. Yeah, I believe that's
three
one of them.
friends.
Yeah.
And, she put a curse on him. I can't
Oh, so you
remember.
saw that movie then?
Yeah, I caught it one day about like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. I was just flipping around the dial and it was like, what's this? This looks interesting. Because I heard Rod Serling talking. And then I was like, what is this movie? It's that's back when the internet wasn't big like it was. So
Yeah.
I didn't know what kind of, like, is this part of a new series he did that nobody saw or whatever? So
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I just it's on YouTube. I know that much. It's I never heard about it until like maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I tried watching some of it, but it was really low budget. It was really like, and I like low budget, so I'm
yeah,
not
it was kind of
criticizing it.
along the lines of equality in search of.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And but again, sometimes that adds to the feeling and the mood of the of the story in the film. It's like what's that one? Boggy Creek. That's kind
Oh,
of
The
low
Legend of
budget
Boggy
too.
Creek.
That
Yeah,
adds to
the
that
documentary feel to it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's like what's it called? A cinema verite or whatever.
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, because you got bad acting, and you got a lot of times it's just the people who are around, and they're given lines to say, or. So
it,
they don't have great acting skills. So
it's called Cinema Mierdate, which is mierda as a Spanish word for you know what.
yep.
Anyway, yeah, you know what we should do one time? I got to find the movie. There's those fake documentaries that they did about unexplained things or whatever, that they would do a movie, an hour and a half. It's like William Shatner's, histories of the space astronauts or this and that. I remember watching one. I'd have to ask a friend of mine about it again with Telly Savalas, and it was pretty silly. And it was pretty silly. It's got to be on YouTube. Anyway. So yeah, no, though they the whatchamacallit, yeah, Serling did those, and then there was another show called Ghost Story hosted by Sebastian Cabot. They did a few of those back then.
Was William Castle.
Was it William Castle involved in
He did
that?
that. That was I think on Channel 4. That some of those stories were good, but they didn't. I don't know. It just didn't take off or whatever.
Yeah.
I forget when they had it on.
It was in the early 70s.
Yeah, early 70s, but I forget what day it was.
It was just weird to see Mr. French there doing a hosting bit or whatever. So, but anyway, let's get to the H-man, the hydrogen. Japan made a lot of money off off
Yeah.
the atomic bomb. They made a lot of movies. A lot of Godzillas, a lot of they really milked that tragedy.
Well, I think it just got so. It was probably like 9/11 that
Yeah,
it just
except I
got.
don't see any 9/11 movies. Thankfully.
Yeah, that's true. But it just got so embedded in their
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and their
cultural
psyche.
mindset.
Yeah, they got
Yeah,
nuked. Yeah,
the
sure.
site. Yeah. So they have a lot of things where atomic radiation
But
is
at times, I mean, look, I'm not going to get all highfalutin and blah blah blah. But at times, it feels like you're exploiting your tragedy, for like
yeah.
profit and But then whatever, do whatever. I can't. I'm not going to criticize. I'm just saying that's an observation that came to my mind. But
Yeah.
anyway, at the beginning of this movie, you see the bomb going off, and like okay, and then the H Man starring. I know Kenji Sahara, and there's a guy in the movie who plays. He was one. They brought him into the police station, and he was like a. I don't know if he was a mob boss or something, but he was the professor, the evil professor who turned that guy into the manster.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
that?
is that the first guy they brought in, Mr.
Yeah,
Cheesy?
yeah, yeah. He was kind of
Oh,
a nasty guy with a little thin mustache or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
That was a doctor from the Manser because I saw the Manser 2 weeks ago on some Oh, by the way, there's a besides Svengoolie, there's a channel which you can download. It's called Nostalgia, N-O-S-T. You can download the app for it. And on Saturday nights at 9, they show a guy. I don't know. They call him Dr. Paul Bear, but he's kind of like a guy who was the family allowed to bring back Paul Bear. He does a horror show, and they did show The Manster a couple of weeks ago. So,
Cool.
if you download the NOST app, it's
All right.
free. You don't have to pay
Cool.
for it. They show old movies and stuff like that. So,
Excellent.
you know, but just Paul Bear is on just Saturdays at 9 or whatever. But they'll show like, gosh, you know what movie I saw a little bit of the other day, but I just couldn't sit there. The Bubble Boy with John Travolta. I was watching, and I'm going, oh, there's Robert Reed, and he's playing with a kid in a big, almost like a big giant fish tank. And oh, here comes that lady that used to be Travolta's girlfriend that died. I forgot what her name was. She's a very pretty lady, and I'm going like, is this the boy in the plastic bubble? And then I just, whatever. So I came back 20 minutes later, and there was Travolta. And I'm like, oh boy, there we go. One of the few TV movies that lasted. That's
Yeah.
in circulation. That's in this, Well, maybe this channel shows TV movies. I don't know, But at any rate,
Cool.
so yeah, the H-Man starts off with a nuclear bomb. So now we know we're getting into the effects of nuclear radiation, kind of, sort of. I found some of the effects in this movie kind of ghostly, but some people don't like them. They think they're cheesy, but I did find them kind of ghostly. But anyway.
Yeah, I think it was actually very cool. The way they had the liquid monster like going up
Yeah.
walls, across ceilings and stuff. I mean, at the time I didn't know how they did it when I was a little kid, but now it's they probably just had a set with everything glued down, and then they just tilted it the way so that the liquid.
And I don't know. People don't mention it, or they do, or they don't. I don't know. I didn't see any mention when I was researching a little bit. I asked a friend of mine, and he said no. But man, when that H-Man gunk goes through walls, it sure looks like the Blob to me. But I believe them both movies came out in 1958, so I don't know which was first or who was, but it sure looked like the Blob. I'm like, somebody watched the Blob, or the Blob watched this, or I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they got one from the. What time was the?
They're both 58.
This was released in June. Let's see what the Blob was released in.
Yeah, but again, it's funny. I watched the guy reviewing this movie, and he said he liked the crime element better than the sci-fi element, which I don't agree with. But he said that was a more interesting story. But it was a young guy, it was like a kid basically, And I was like, well, I kind of thought the gangster story might have gotten a little in the way of the sci-fi story. But okay, to each his own, whatever,
Blob was released in September of '58, so the H-Man came first.
It did. Okay, well, there you go. Now the Blob came from outer space, so that's a whole different.
In a meteorite.
Yeah.
And H-Man is
nuclear.
Nuclear. And I don't remember the figures because every once in a while the H-Men would sort of form this sort of humanoid shape that.
Yeah, there would either be a humanoid shape in some cases, and it would be a goop, for lack of a better. There was the best scene for me in the movie was there was a scene where after the guys leave the ship, you see like the ship and these two little ghostly. That was haunting in a way, what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
It was directed by Honda, who did a lot of the early Godzilla movies, so he was a very good director.
Yeah. This was actually a very good movie, well directed. If they didn't have the science fiction element, it would still be a good cop movie.
Yeah.
Crime movie.
Everybody. It's a dub movie, and one of the voices is Paul Frees, who is best known as the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear his voice, it's like I hear, oh, it's just, yeah, right. Pinch my belly or whatever the hell they did, yes. But yeah, whatever. released by Columbia, so a big studio, really brought it over, and then they dubbed it, and
Right.
it's funny though because I'm watching it, and I for some reason I had the closed captioning, and closed captioning can be a disaster. It could be accurate. It could be like funny, and like one of the characters, I forgot what his name was, but they ended up calling him on the dubbing Al Qaeda, and I'm like, what? And then somebody else was called COVID, and I'm like, what? It's like it's like the closed captioning. It's like, what is the hell is this? Who's whatever? I don't
It's
know.
all
The
done by
AI is
AI.
if we're gonna like place our entire civilization on AI, good luck to everybody. Anyway,
So it starts out nuclear bomb, and then you see a guy waiting in the car, and he's waiting for somebody, and it's raining heavy, and this other guy comes out with this little bag, and you don't know what it is, but you know
he
that
comes out of
a cellar,
the of a
some kind.
metal grating, right? Comes out of
Yeah,
the not the sewer maybe or
yeah,
something.
maybe because a lot of the last part of the movie takes
Yeah.
place in the sewer. So he comes, yeah, it must be because there's a scene in the sewer where the one bad
Yeah,
guy finds
yeah, yeah,
drugs.
yeah. We'll get to that later where they hide the stuff. Yeah, right, right.
So he comes out and then he's trying to get into the trunk of the car and he screams and in pain. And so the other guy waiting in the car for him drives off.
And the cop comes by first, and they go, "Hey, officer," and the cop just keeps going. So, and there's
So
other people walking in the rain, but he's the only one that's got that gives that weird effect to him.
well, they explain that
Yeah, they do. They do later on. Yeah.
quickly, but if you're not paying attention, you miss it. So anyway, he's in the street, moaning in pain, and then there's a cabbie hits him or thinks he hits him. So the cabbie gets out, and all you see are clothes, empty clothes, and then there's the bag of drugs, and then there's
And
the
then he shoots down at something too, because I remember he shot. He was
yeah, he
he
was
was
shooting
shooting. Later on, you find out that these people shoot at that stuff. But anyway, we'll get to it.
So
Yeah.
then the police come and they're interviewing people, and they find in the bag was drugs, and they're like, they bring in a guy and they're asking him because they got it from bus lockers. Somehow they found something about a bus locker or something. So they're
Yeah, and
asking,
that's the guy that comes in to investigate. The guy to bring in is the guy from the Manster.
right? So they're interviewing him, and he's like, I don't know anything. They just. So he has them go through a mugshot book, and without saying anything, I mean, you should play this guy at poker because
Yeah.
he's got all these tells. So they find, oh, this is the guy. He's at he
He's a
works at
nightclub, right?
a nightclub. Yeah. So they figure, I guess from the guy's wallet or whatever, they figure it's this guy Mishiaki, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, Misaki. So they
Misaki,
go
yeah.
to his apartment and they find his girlfriend, and she doesn't know what's going on, and they don't believe her. They bring her in, and they don't get any information from her because she doesn't know anything.
Exactly.
They think she's
She's in on it or
she's
something.
in on it,
But she's the guy's girlfriend, so they're gonna,
right? So then
because he's disappeared, right? They can't find the guy they're
yes,
looking
he's
for.
disappeared. They think they're like, well, what is these clothes are here? So what is he doing? Running around naked? And they're like, oh, he's trying to throw us off, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, uh,
They
she's
go to a
singing
nightclub.
she's singing at a nightclub.
She's dubbed
And
singing, by the way. That's not her
yeah,
singing,
that's
but
not really her. And
and then
she's singing,
before her they had some other female with showing off like a lot of butt and stuff. So
yeah,
that was kind of cool.
it's like I don't know, some kind of Japanese version of a lounge,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
playing jazz and stuff.
Or where Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra would be
Yeah,
hanging
yeah.
out.
And so, the girl who's the girlfriend of Misaki, she's the main singer. She's singing in English because I was looking at her lips.
Yeah, but she was
And
dubbed definitely.
so then this guy hands her a piece of paper and he says, "I have to talk to you about Misaki." And she's all nervous because the cops are all are in there and they're watching the gangsters signal each other and obviously there's something nefarious going on. So anyway, the doctor goes to talk to her. Before he can say anything, the cops bust in and then they take him down to the police station. And they're asking the doctor, like, what are you like doing? Talking to why you? And he's like, well, I'm a scientist and I work with radiation, and I think this guy Misaki was at or near the nuclear test site, and I'm studying the effects of radiation. And so then, they're like, yeah, sure, doc, whatever and stuff. So then she goes.
And don't they mention something about they're thinking that the rain might be radioactive too?
Yeah, the doctor, yeah, exactly. The doctor's saying the rain,
but it's not really affecting everybody. But anyway, whatever.
Yeah, and they say that. Well, how come it's not? I was in the rain too. How come it's not affecting me? He said, well, it seems to affect people who were near
in the area
testing and got a dose of radiation. So anyway, they released the doctor and the girl, and apparently the police chief knows the doctor. He's on like friendly terms. So
he's not really buying his story or anything like that.
She goes back to her apartment, and there's a guy in there, and he's like, where's Misaki? Where's the drugs? And she doesn't know anything, and so then he, threatens her and says, tell Misaki where his friends are looking for him. So then he climbs out the window, and then you hear him scream and start shooting at something, and then the girl runs to the window to look, and she sees it and screams. And then the cops who are watching her, they come and they come up because everybody heard her scream and heard the guns shooting. And then she comes out of her apartment and fades. And then they take her back to the police station, and they're asking for questions. And and she's like, I saw the guy melt before my eyes. And they're like, tell us the truth. Oh, but it is the truth. And then the doctor comes in. I don't know his name, but the doctor comes in, and he talks about, I'm looking for Misaki because I think the rain was radiated, and it had an effect on the people who were near the H bomb. So he takes him back to his hospital.
Yeah, that's right.
Talking to one of the fishermen, and the fisherman's telling him about what he saw and what happened. He's all bandaged up and everything.
Yeah, they were on a boat, and then they saw a deserted boat there, and they went in looking around.
And so looking around, talking, and they all see just these piles of clothes, and they're like, oh, and so one guy's trying on the captain's jacket, and as he's doing so, this liquid starts, coming towards him, and it like goes up his leg and starts enveloping him, and he screams, and then he slowly melts. The other fishermen see it, and they run downhill, or they run down, and then one of the guys say, "Oh, we have to save him." Says, "Oh, you can't. He's dead." So the one fisherman runs up to help his friend, and then that's where you see the liquid sort of come up into like a ghostly greenish form, and the guy's screaming. He's paralyzed with fear as the figure comes towards him, then sucks him up, and then the guy melts and the clothes fall down, and that was a flashback. So then the doctor shows the police that he takes a frog, exposes it to radiation, and then they put the frog in a container to look at, and then you see the frog slowly dissolve and bubble up into something liquid.
And before that, the doctor tells the police. I think he tells the police that that ship with the H-men people was also near the nuclear test.
So that's how he started to think. That's how the doctor started to think.
Yeah.
That the radiation and the rain, which had some radiation in it. So apparently, this just happened after the nuclear explosion or testing. I think it was testing.
Yeah.
So then,
they do the frog test, and they put the hydrogen, and he bubbles up and turns into a
liquid creature. So they, the head of the research place, he calls the thing the H-man. That's what and then.
And then they find like a life preserver from the boat.
Yeah.
And somebody brings it in, but they just say, forget it. We don't.
Get rid of this thing. Yeah. So it's like slowly the police are going, well, something's up. We don't know what. And they're not really taking the doctor seriously per se, but the evidence seems to be mounting. So
and
then,
she told him when she saw, she told the girl that he saw somebody dissolve. So then she tells him to go to the nightclub and then because of the gamblers or something.
They want her to point out all the crooks there that are operating at the nightclub. So she's doing another song, and as she's singing, she walks down the table, and if she touches a table, that's to indicate then there are police sitting at the bar. That's to indicate to them that these are the crooks and the criminals. And they discover that there's a waiter there who sort of acts as a go-between at the tables, giving them messages and talking, so that the criminals aren't seen talking to each other. And there's one main criminal who is sort of holding court there. And so after she points out
because basically they're looking for the missing guy who's a criminal or whatever.
So after
so then you start seeing the blob stuff come out of the water.
Yeah.
It comes to see, and then it starts entering the room in the nightclub. I don't know if it was near the nightclub or something, but I seem to remember there was a scene where all of a sudden it starts entering the room and it starts like killing people, and like I think even you see like liquid creatures coming up or whatever, But then
first the cops do this massive dragnet, all the criminals, and then the waiter and the head guy, they try to escape. And you see the thing come in the window.
Right.
It solves the waiter. And so then the head gangster, he tries to escape, and the girl's in there. So they, she's trying to escape, and she calls the police or the doctor or somebody. So they get there, and they see the blob thing, and they're of course trying to
shoot at it. It's like, okay.
I don't know if they kill it or did they do something where it's inactive.
It just goes away. I don't think they burned it or did anything.
Yeah, maybe it just went away.
It just went away because I think part of what it does is it eats people. I think I remember him saying something about that.
So anyway, it goes away. So the girl comes out, and then the police are sort of all kind of satisfied, but they're still looking for the head guy. And as they're searching, the head gangster, he goes down into a cellar. He takes his clothes off and leaves them piled in a bunch to make it look like he was eaten too.
All right.
And the cops are like, all right, well, we don't have to worry about him. And, so it's the doctor and the girl. They are becoming smitten with each other. So he takes her home and stuff. And then it's the next day. So she's getting ready, and the doctor and the
There,
lady.
there was a scene earlier. I don't know if we talked about it, where the scientist does another frog test, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
he proves that like the frog was radiated and turned into blob, and then it was put in with another frog, and it dissolved the other frog. So that was kind of like telling them. I think I'm not sure if that was before the nightclub scene or not, but it was showing them that, hey, this thing is like,
yeah. It's an
this is
active.
what it does. And I think at that point the cops start believing it or
Yeah, it's an
whatever.
active living.
Especially after the scene in the nightclub.
Yeah. So then, so the girl's getting ready, and then the landlady comes in and says, "Doctor, your doctor friend is here to pick you up." So she gets in the car, and the car drives away. And then the landlady's standing outside, and a taxi pulls up, and the doctor comes out. She says, "What are you doing? I thought, didn't you send a car to pick her up?" He goes, "No." So he jumps back in the cab, and they're chasing the other car the girl got into, and it turns out it's the gangster, and he's looking for her. I don't know if it's to find drugs, but he didn't need. He already knew where the
He
drugs
knew where
were.
they were. They were in the
Got her. He took her for something.
the scientist guy was supposed to pick her up, but he came like a minute late.
Yeah, a minute late.
And then
So anyway,
they start chasing the gangster and her, and he gets into
right.
some kind of car accident or something.
Yeah. So as they're chasing the guy, truck pulls out and they crash into the truck, and so the car gets away. And then the gangster, takes the girl down into the sewer to look for the drugs,
For
and
the
that's
heroin, yeah.
yeah.
Again, before that, I don't know how they figured it out, but somehow they figured out, okay, we've got a plan. We're gonna flame bomb this town and the ship.
This section of town, yeah.
Now, I don't remember in the movie where they decided that fire was going to kill this thing, but
I
I
think they
mean,
did the testing.
they
I don't
did
know
do
if
a
they
testing.
I don't know if they showed it, but you had the head of the research saying, well, the only things that seem to stop this are electricity and fire. And
Okay.
they're looking at a map, and he said, well, we have all the reports around this area are, people uh, melting. So we're going to burn this area, and we think they went to the sewers. So we're going to set fire to the
And they
sewers as
tell the
well.
people in the city to evacuate. You see them running
Yeah,
like in
so
a
they're
Godzilla movie
evacuating.
or
Right.
whatever.
So
But
then
meanwhile, that city, that area is where that girl Shitaku, whatever her name was, and the gangster are in the sewers getting the heroin or
right.
whatever.
So they're looking for the gangster, and they're getting ready and they're pouring gasoline or whatever down into the sewer, and they're evacuating people. And then they're looking for the doctor and the police captain. They're looking around, and they see it like, are there any other entrances to the sewer? And then they see like this little culvert coming out of the side of a wall, and oh, there's another entrance. And then they see the girl's the blouse come out, because
He had her take her
yeah,
blouse off to fool them, to make them
to
think she
make
was
them
dead.
think she was eaten, so they didn't
Yeah.
come in looking for her. And he says, "Oh, they won't look for me because they think I'm dead." And then we're going to fool them by making them think you were eaten too. And then the doctor comes while the cops and the government workers are pouring stuff down into the sewers and evacuating people. The doctor comes up to the captain, and he says, the gangster is still alive, because I checked his clothes and they're not radioactive, so he's still alive." So then they're looking for an entrance. That's why they were looking for an entrance to get in or out. And they see the girl's blouse come out. So then they say, well, we gotta see if we can stop the fireballing, because we don't want to up the sewers. We don't want to see hurt the girl. But as they're walking away, the doctor, he jumps in the water, and he walks in the tunnel, start looking for the girl. So then the police captain and a bunch of other cops, they dress up in sewer clothes, and they're walking around looking for the girl, and they're also looking for the liquid H men. And you see the doctor, is also looking for her, and he's calling out her name. Meanwhile, the gangster and the girl in her slip now. He finds the place where there's a fake rock, pulls it out, got $1 million worth of heroin in there. So he's trying to escape, and he's walking and he sees the cops coming. Says, "Well, can't go that way." So he goes and he crawls up a ladder to the surface, and he peeks through a manhole and he sees cops there and says, "Well, I can't go that way." So then they are he and the girl, they're looking, and they see one of the H-men blobs coming towards them. So they start running and running. And then he's sort of running ahead of her, and she's sort of dragging behind. And he's like, come on, hurry up. And as he's standing there, like looking around to find a place to escape, one of the H-men drops from the ceiling on him, and it dissolves him. And she starts screaming, and there's another blob H-man coming towards her. And that's when the doctor finds her and grabs her, and they start running towards, looking for an exit to get out. In the meantime, they light the fire in the sewer. So they say, all right, where did the doctor go in? He went in there. It's going to take about 15 minutes for the gasoline fire to reach that area. So he runs back, goes down into the sewer. He's with a bunch of other cops, and some of them have flamethrowers. He gets the doctor and the girl out, and then you see some of the H-men, the liquid blobs. They're trying to escape the fire, and then you have cops with flamethrowers, and they start burning the H-men. And then you see pictures of fire burning that section of the city. And at the very end, what is it? The head of the research center. He's like, if humans ever disappear off the face of the earth, it may be the H-men who take control, and like the next evolution of people and stuff. Yeah, it's
yeah. They had to do something at the end to give it some,
some
to give us a warning of not to mess with
exactly.
H-bomb, which is okay. Don't do it,
Yeah. Well, a lot of 50s movies,
Yeah.
like the Blob ended with they dropped it in Antarctica, and then like the end, and then a big question mark.
Yeah. Godzilla, H-bomb.
A lot of a lot of after the war, the World War II, a lot of people were still like, geez, what did we go through? So that sort of terror of bombs and wars and stuff still.
And then in the 60s, you got the Cold War scare with Kennedy and Khrushchev. So
well, it's a dicey time.
It's always been dicey times, sometimes more than others, but yeah. Anyway, this was a series of movies, not by the same people, but they did another one called The Human Vapor, which was they call it Transforming Man series or something.
I've never seen it, but
I had a VHS of it. I haven't watched it, and there was yet another one, which I think had an even less of a presence in the U.S. It didn't have the H. It wasn't released by Columbia or anything. It was called Secret of the Telegian. It's more of an unknown one, but it is out there, and on the internet, and I don't know, maybe somebody's selling it. I don't know, but it was a lesser known movie called Secret of the Telegian. But they were all what they call the Transforming Man. They're fun. They're interesting. This is probably of the three, I would imagine, this is the best one because it was the original one. So I had the Human Vapor. I remember buying an old VHS of it, but I think I tried playing it a few years ago to dub it, and it was like the tape busted or something. I don't know.
Oh, God.
I only paid $5 for it. So
yeah, well, maybe we'll watch that next.
Yeah, well, we'll figure something out. But anyway, yeah, I saw this a long time ago. I haven't watched this movie in 20 or 30 years, but it's good. I like it. It holds up. It's got enough scenes, to I think Human Vapor had a crime element to it too. That's a weird combination of genres, the film noir and sci-fi, but it works in this case. So
It's yeah.
it's
Well,
in and it's in color. It's very nice. It's a very colorful movie. It's very nicely
yeah.
shot.
I originally saw it in black and white,
You did? Okay.
but yeah, we didn't have a color TV. I think till like 75 or 76 or
Are you
something.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we had this big monster television.
Oh, okay. And you didn't want to get rid of it, yeah.
Wow. It wasn't up to me. It was up to my parents.
I thought maybe you might have had one in your room or
Oh
something.
God, no. My mom would never have allowed that.
She wouldn't have allowed you to have a TV in your room? Wow.
Yep. She didn't even
Oh.
like it when I locked the door.
Well, I never locked the door, but I closed the door, I
Yeah,
mean.
I would close it, but she's yeah, my mom didn't quite understand boundaries sometimes.
Wow, so no color TV until 75. So
Yeah.
that's
So anyway,
crazy.
but I grew up watching, black and white, and you could still see a lot of stuff with
Oh
the light.
yeah, yeah, sure.
It
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't horrible. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
big old TV, and you had to get tubes for it if it blew
Yeah,
out.
that's the old
So
days, yeah.
go down to the local drugstore where they had a tube tester,
Yeah, so
test the damn
silly.
tube to see if it worked, and then whatever tube it was, you would have to go to uh, the little cubby holes to find the correct.
Oh, that's right. The tubes were in. You opened up a drawer and they were in there
Yeah,
or whatever.
and then sometimes if sometimes they didn't have the tube you need, and you're like, "Fuck, I have to find someplace else." Other times they did, but you still had to test it. And sometimes it wouldn't work because I think some people went in with the tube and swapped it out, like put their bad tube in the box and took the good tube. So you would, sometimes put it in and that tube wouldn't work. You'd have to try them. And what a royal pain.
Yeah. Is there such a thing anymore as like TV repairman, or is that all
I don't think so. I mean, usually if your TV is broke,
just throw in the garbage and get another one?
yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know enough about soldering or replacing stuff. You could probably fix it depending
Yeah,
on.
you can go on YouTube and see a video on how to fix it, but then
Right.
can you really fix it if you just watch a video? Because I tried, one of my TVs busted, and they go, yeah, you got to go in here, and it's probably this master control, and you can get another one at on eBay, and I'm like, I don't know, it looks a little complicated. I don't want to dump like $30 into a master control where I could go back to Walmart and get another TV for $130 or whatever.
Usually bigger and better
Even
color.
better. And
Yeah,
with a Roku built into it. So that's what I
yeah,
did.
exactly. That's what
That's
we
what I
have here.
did.
We have this big friggin', I think it's like 57 inch or so. Got
Yeah, there you
Roku
go.
already built into it,
Yeah, there you go.
which is great. And plus, I just remember you had to play with the vertical control,
Oh gosh, yeah.
which would,
And the
sometimes,
tuner, the
and,
tuner.
tune to click, 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 click. Yeah, that's before
Now,
remote
now
control.
getting channels off the air is a pain in the butt too, though,
Yeah.
because you can set up your antenna, and the next day it's like it doesn't pick up anything. That's a modern equivalent of old time television is the
Yeah.
digital, which is
There were
which is
times, I know
garbage.
where I lived, this happened with the radio more so with the TV, but I would get some great stations from like Philly or Jersey, and I
Hmm.
was in Brooklyn or even Long Island, New York, or Connecticut. And then usually from like 8 or 9 o'clock, something would automatically come on and just cause interference. So I
Hmm.
couldn't get anything. And then it would stop at about 5 o'clock. So somewhere between or somewhere in the landscape around me, there was some business or machinery or something that would get turned on a 9 to 5 basis and just interfere with my reception. And like, damn, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I've noticed that sometimes during the day I can't get some channels, but at night they come in. So
Yeah, they come in
something's
nice.
going on during the day.
Yeah, like radio too. Like, well, I know some of it has to do with the signals bouncing off the
Oh
stratosphere,
yeah,
whatever. But like sometimes I would get radio stations in my car from Chicago. This is when I lived up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I would get stuff from Chicago and I would listen to it.
that's crazy.
And then uh, if in the morning, I'd be listening to the station, and then in the morning, again, like 7, 8 o'clock, something would machineries would come on and
Yeah,
the air, so the
whatever
signal.
interference there was would
Yeah,
come on, and
yeah, exactly. And it was frustrating, but yeah, whatever.
it could be another radio station. I don't know. Who knows?
Could be, yeah. I mean, back then, some radio stations went off the air.
I know that there's a guy on YouTube called the Antenna Man, and he talks about what kind of if you're going to pick up channels over the air, what antennas are better than others.
Oh,
And he
really?
usually, yeah, but he usually really says that the best antennas they have are the outdoors. The indoors
Yeah.
don't really work great. But he also said one time that when they changed to this digital system, they some corporation went and bid, and they got there was a couple of different um, styles, not styles, but there was a couple of different uh, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Anyway, they picked the worst format for over the air. It says in Europe they have a stronger, better over the air cable system, but there's just some company came in and that was there. They wanted to put that one in, and it was worse, and they just paid enough money to the whoever, and they got it and put in. And now I think my friend told me he watched it. He says they're going to do something else too that's going to make the stations even weaker over the air. They're going to it's something to do with I don't. They're going to do something, because what they did was basically take uh, the analog and give it to. Oh man, I'm screwing this up big time. Anyway, everything used to come over the air through analog, and then they decided to make it digital. So they're going to give the analog to, I don't know, if emergency uh, platforms or something, so they would have more frequency. And now they're going to do something else. And again, you know what? On the next show, I'm going to talk about it more because I'll research it. But they're going to screw it up, which is what they always do. They never do. They just screw things up worse. Somebody comes up with
they never make things. They say they're going to make things better or easier or whatever, but they usually make things worse.
No, and it's all about making money. It's all about, hey, I got a great idea, and I got a lot of money, and let me do it. And they go, okay, give us the money, and we can do it. And they screw things up, usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're gonna give more frequency to, I forgot what kind of a system it is, and they're gonna take away the strength of the over the air. So basically, what they want to do is take away over the air channel. So you'll just have to get cable or whatever, or get a Roku or whatever, and pay for it. That's what they want to do. They just want everything to be streaming.
Exactly.
Because it's a scam basically. So okay, it's okay. Okay, you guys, you don't want to pay for cable. Well, we're going to have streaming now, and if you want to have all your channels, well, you're going to end up paying like what you did for cable eventually, because that's what we do. Anyway, it has nothing to do with the H-Man, but I did see the H-Man on Tubi, so okay. Is that where you got it from? Tubi?
I got it at
it wasn't on YouTube.
There's some website, OKRU, like a Russian website, which
okay.
they have a lot of movies. And,
all right.
Well, yeah, like I mean, I don't download anything. I just let it.
No, it's on Tubi. So if you want to watch it with a few commercials, then you can check it out there. It looks fine.
Yeah. The one on the Russian website is good copy too.
So how'd you get the inspiration for this movie?
I was on YouTube looking around at I go on looking for weird movies and stuff,
Oh, okay.
The trailer for this came up.
Yeah, there's a lot of trailers for it, and a couple of reviews too.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. Let me look at this.
And you remembered it.
Yeah, and I go, yeah. Well, I do remember seeing it, and always I was fascinated by the special effects and the
Now,
thought
when you
of.
first saw it, was it in color or black and white?
Well, I saw it in black and white because it was on
So
my.
now you get the treat of watching it in color.
Yes, and was much better in color.
Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, the website is ok.ru. It's like I guess it's a Russian
Yeah, never heard of it.
video thing, and they use because it's Russia. They usually have some movies that you don't find on like YouTube or Vimeo or stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. They
I think
probably
the
have like,
movie has a lot of really good movies
yeah,
that you don't
except that, yeah, they
necessarily
do,
find.
except that they kind of lose them after a while, and then but they get new stuff all
Well,
the time.
yeah, yeah, that's
And they
one
have
thing I don't like.
commercials, but it's not as bad as YouTube commercials.
Oh God, no. And one thing I don't like is a lot of these. Well, I guess they have to because there's so many movies. But they'll have a movie on for a couple of years, and then it's oh, this is leaving soon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They
sure.
gotta make. I guess they gotta make space for more movies. But
No, they licensed the movie for 2 years, and then they go, okay, let's move. I remember when Netflix did that. I was so pissed. I go, oh, Netflix streaming? Wow, look at all these B movies. And then one day they were all gone, and I'm like, why are they all gone? And, oh, well, our license went. We licensed them for 2 years, and now it's done. So now we're going to give you our crap. I'm like,
yeah,
goodbye. See
and
ya.
it's funny. I don't pretty much. I watch the Ghost Hunters channel on YouTube on Roku or the Dick Van Dyke Show channel on Roku, or I'm watching YouTube. Really short things, sometimes
Yeah,
political,
yeah,
mostly
yeah,
art stuff and esoteric stuff, and
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, sure, yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, I I can't think of the last time I watched broadcast television.
Oh, I don't get. Yeah, I get it over the air a couple of times. Like I can sometimes get Fox, and I can sometimes get NBC, but I can't
Uh,
get CBS or I can't get ABC. So
I can't think
yeah,
of anything on
sports would be
any.
the only thing, like football games or something.
Yeah, I can't think of anything on broadcast or the big streaming channels that I would want to see. Like there was a Paramount Plus, a Disney Plus. Oh, I do have Discovery Plus,
You
so I
do?
do watch some science shows and
Oh, okay.
sometimes building shows. Sometimes I just at the end of the day I want to relax. I want something innocuous. I don't really have to focus on while I'm eating dinner and sitting there talking to my wife. Just something in the background to
Yeah, yeah,
keep your mind busy. It's just and there's not a lot of it's a lot of crap on even on YouTube. There's a lot of
yeah. It's wait. It's yeah, yeah. Yeah. You have to filter through it, and if you don't know how, you have to save like favorite channels and stuff. So.
yeah, and definitely my phone listens to what I say because I'm on my I log into YouTube under me on the Roku and I'll look up something or say something on my phone, and then when I log into YouTube on the Roku TV, uh, and suddenly all these videos pop up of the thing I was looking up or the thing I was talking about. So it's like,
Yeah, there you go.
geez. That's why I don't have an Alexa or Tina or whatever that
No, no, no,
thing. So I
no.
don't want something listening to me.
No, no. Algorithms know what you watch and they come back and they go, "Hey, you like H-Man, huh? Yeah, okay, we got
Yeah,
some other Japanese classics
yeah.
for you."
It usually does a bad job of picking for you.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. All right, well anyway, that was the H-Man. Pretty good movie. I
Yeah,
liked it. It was an interesting combination of genres. I remembered a few scenes, but I don't remember. I forget. Basically, I remembered the creepy scenes, and I forgot it was part of the gangster movie. So.
Right, I did too. And I just remember, again, as a kid, and it was like 8 or whatever, I would just watch the monster parts. And then when just all the talking and gangster stuff, I was probably, doing my Legos and Army Men and whatnot.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Roddy, take us out.
All right. So until next time, we want you to watch more B movies.